This is our last month without NBA basketball for a very, very long time. So in this video, I'm going to preview the entire NBA. I'm going to go through the entire standings for the Eastern and Western Conference. I'm going to give you my MVP pick. I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen in the playoffs and who is ultimately going to win the title, in my opinion. Let's get into it. Really quickly though, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. Squarespace provides you everything that you're going to need to create a website-based platform in order to grow whatever you want to online. And what's really great about it is if you don't exactly know what direction you want to go in, that's fine. There's a lot of different ways that Squarespace can help you grow and build an audience online and connect with people online. If you want to create a store to sell physical or digital products, Squarespace can help you with that. If you want to have a blog and talk about whatever it is that you're passionate and build a community around that online, which is something that I did years ago before I ever even started doing YouTube, I wrote out my thoughts on sports, on the NBA, and having a blog and having a place to interact with people that think that the same way that you do, or to share your interests and your passions, is a great way to build an audience, and Squarespace can help you there as well. And anytime you're talking about growing something online, numbers are extremely important. And Squarespace has some fantastic analytics tools as well. They can tell you where people are coming from, who's visiting your site, and you can use those numbers and that information to continue to grow and build your audience online for whatever it is, whether it be your shop, whether it be your blog, whether it be just a regular website. Squarespace can help you do all of those things. And so if you're interested in building a platform online with Squarespace, there's a couple of things you can do. You can try it out for free. You can do a free trial at squarespace.com, and you can also get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain at squarespace.com/sporting. Again, that is squarespace.com/sporting. That link is in the description. That is 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain with Squarespace. And thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Okay, so let's begin in the Eastern Conference, and I'm going to go from top of the standings to the bottom. I'm going to go and tell you right now, some of y'all are going to be upset about where your team places, but when you look at the standings at the end of this, you're going to understand that the NBA is in such an incredible place in terms of talent. These are some super, super deep conferences. We're going to begin with the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, and for me, it is the Milwaukee Bucks. I understand that may seem a little bit boring to you. You think that that's not the most interesting pick of all time. It's a safe pick, in my opinion. If these guys are healthy and Giannis is playing the way that Giannis plays, they are, in my opinion, the best team in the Eastern Conference. From a safety standpoint, there might be some other teams whose ceilings are slightly higher, teams like Philadelphia that we're going to talk about a little bit later, but if you just want to pick the number one team in the Eastern Conference, I'm going to go with Milwaukee with the first seed. Next up, a team I just talked about, the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm kind of just going to stand on this corner for now and just say that this is my team for the year. This is the team that I think is going to end up being maybe a lot better than a lot of people think. I have them as the second best team in the Eastern Conference in the regular season at least, and Embiid's going to have an awesome season if healthy. Tobias Harris is now like the fourth best offensive option, which is a really good place for him to be. Maxi's going to continue to grow and develop. I think Harden is going to have a pretty good season as well, and they have really good wing depth options that they haven't had in the past. I'm going to put Philly at the 2 spot. Next up at 3 is the Boston Celtics. Now, it might be a little bit surprising to see them here, but we're already dealing with Robert Williams injury issues, and there's always a possibility of them getting hurt and dealing with injury issues throughout the year, which is a thing for everybody. But Boston is actually not that deep of a team. When they went on their run late in the year last year, they were playing like 7 or 8 guys, and a couple of injuries can really push them down the standings. I still think they're going to be an incredible postseason team and a team that's absolutely a championship contender, but in the regular season, I'm going to bump them down just a little bit. By the way, Celtics fans, at the beginning of last year, you absolutely would have taken 3rd seed in the conference coming into this season, so I wouldn't complain too much if I were you. Number 4 now, I'm going to put Brooklyn. Now, this is a tough one because they've got all this stuff going on this offseason. It's weird. You don't know what the vibes are. You don't know if guys are going to play, the health of Simmons, the health of KD, Kyrie, but I still think from a talent perspective and in terms of depth, this is a team that's a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. You can say that I'm biased if you want to. Objectively, I really tried to make myself as pessimistic as I could be about Brooklyn, and ultimately I landed on the 4th seed for them, and I still think that they are borderline championship contenders if everybody's happy and healthy. Number 5 is Cleveland. Now, I really struggled with where to put them, because once you get past this point, as you can tell by some of the teams I haven't mentioned yet, you're looking at play-in teams. And I just looked at this Cleveland roster, and I looked at the talent in the backcourt, the talent in the front court. I just can't see how they're worse than 5 in this conference because of how they're going to be able to score and how they're going to be able to defend the rim. Yes, I'm worried about the wing. I'm worried about Isaac Okoro being someone that's going to be able to help them. I'm worried about them finding 3-and-D role player type guys. But this is a team that last year when Jared Allen was healthy was kind of in this position in the standings anyway. And now they've added Donovan Mitchell. I'm going to put them at the 5 spot. Next up, number 6 is Miami. If you watched my overrated teams video, you know that I am not super high on Miami this year, and that is reflected in these standings. I just think that it's very possible that this is the down Miami year. Like, this happens every couple of years where guys get hurt. They're just not as good as you think they're going to be. Kyle Lowry really concerns me in terms of what he looked like last year in his first year with Miami, and just elevating Tyler Hero to the starting lineup and a little bit of progression from a couple of the young guys, to me, is not enough to put them any higher in the standings than 6 when you look at how deep and how talented this conference is. Next up, 7, Toronto. I really like this Toronto team. I wish I could put them higher. I just can't. There are more talented teams ahead of them in the standings, and they're still a young and a growing team, especially with Scotty Barnes there. They're going to be really good. That's a team that I would not want to play at all, but I'm going to put them in the 7th seed. We're going to go a little faster now with the back half of these standings. 8, Atlanta. I like DeJounte Murray. I think him and Trae Young, hopefully that fit works really well together. I'm not super confident that it will. And just when you look at their roster compared to the 7 teams I have in front of them, I think they're the 8th best team in the conference. And so that might seem really low for a team that made a big offseason move, but that's where I'm ultimately going to put them. 9, Chicago, another team that I put in that overrated teams video. They're already dealing with health issues with Lonzo. If he's not healthy, that really limits what they can do in terms of their lineup versatility. Patrick Williams is always an injury risk, and just LaVine and DeRozan together, as we saw, for the second half of last year, is a play-in team. And so that's why I have them there at the 9th seed. And then my last spot in the kind of play-in range here, I ended up putting New York because of the Jalen Brunson edition. I like RJ, Julius Randle. But honestly, I really wanted to put the 11th team here, which is Orlando. I wanted to put Orlando at 10. I think they've got a lot of talent. I think they're really deep. I think they're an up-and-coming team. But ultimately, I went with a little bit more of a known commodity with New York, I should say, at 10. The Magic at 11. Detroit, Washington, Charlotte, and Indiana. You can put those in any order you'd like to. Maybe you're a little bit higher on Washington than I am. I put them in the 12, 13, 14, 15 order that you see on screen here for no real reason other than the fact that I think these are the 4 worst teams in the conference, and you can order them in any way that you want to. And I think anyone from 11 on up is a real play-in and obviously playoff possibility. Those other 4 teams, you'd have to really talk me into and convince me that those are going to be play-in caliber teams this season. Even a team like Washington that has Bradley Beal, I just don't think they're going to be very good. We move over now to the Western Conference. My number 1 seed in the Western Conference for the season is the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, I don't necessarily think that they're the best team in the Western Conference, but in terms of the regular season, I think they're going to have the best regular season record. They're an incredible home team. They're a really deep team. They have a ton of youth on this roster as well. These are guys that are going to care about the regular season, and I really like their roster. Now, we're still waiting on Jaren Jackson to return. He's already injured, and that's going to be an issue for them. But again, that's one of the things that makes them great, especially in the regular season, is they have so much depth. They have so many guys they can put out there and play. So I have them as the best record in the Western Conference in the regular season this upcoming season. Number 2, I have Golden State. Typically a very good regular season team. I think coming off obviously winning a title last year, they're going to be very confident. This is just typical of what Golden State does. They win the title, and then all of a sudden we're looking at them again, potentially winning 55 plus games. As long as they're healthy, and I think guys like Clay should get continually healthier the further removed he gets from those injury issues, I think we're going to see them as a number 2 seed this year in the Western Conference. Number 3, I have the LA Clippers. Now, I mentioned that Philly's kind of my team in the East that I think is going to be better than most people expect. The Clippers are that team for me in the Western Conference. I think it's very easy to make an argument that the Clippers currently, if you can just turn off injuries and say that everybody's going to be healthy, have the best roster in the entire league. I think that's a very easy argument to make, but in a regular season situation, given that they're going to rest guys and that they're going to have injury issues, I'm going to put them at number 3, but I think they absolutely are championship contenders this season if they're healthy. And even if they do deal with injury issues or resting Kawhi and PG a lot during the regular season, they have a ton of depth, especially on the wings. So I think they're going to be the 3rd best team in the West this season. Number 4, I have Phoenix, sliding down slightly from where they were last year as a 60-plus win team. I don't think they're going to be that good this year. I don't think they're going to prioritize the regular season as much as they did last year, trying to rest more guys. I put them at 4. Number 5, Dallas. I wanted to put them lower, but the more I looked at these other teams, I just trust Luka a lot here. And the next team, spoiler alert, is Denver, and that's the team that I really struggle with trying to put a little bit higher here between 5 and 6 between Dallas and Denver. But with Denver dealing with the injury issues and guys returning like Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., I just assumed that Dallas was going to get off to a better start, be a better regular season team. In the postseason, I like Denver better. In the regular season, I'm going to put Dallas 5 and Denver 6. Number 7, a team that I thought I would have higher because they have one of the better regular season 5s we've ever seen in Rudy Gobert, but I don't. I have them at number 7. That's the Minnesota Timberwolves. I love Anthony Edwards as a basketball player. I think he's incredible. I think he's only going to continue to grow and develop. Not a big D'Angelo Russell guy, but the combination of Towns and Gobert, I think, is going to work pretty well in the regular season. But unfortunately, there are 6 more proven and, quite frankly, more talented teams ahead of them in the regular season standings, and so I don't really see how they can be any higher than 7 unless you just really don't like some of the downward momentum of teams like Phoenix potentially. Dealing with some of the issues they've had this offseason. Number 8, another team I wish I could put higher, New Orleans. If Zion is healthy and he's all NBA caliber Zion, they're a top 4 team in the Western Conference contender. Absolutely. They are 100% a team that I would be looking at as one of the top 4 teams in the conference. I can't guarantee that Zion's going to be healthy or that he's going to be as good as he was a few years ago. And so ultimately, I put them at 8. But again, it's kind of like Toronto. This is a team that I would want no part of playing whatsoever once we get to the postseason. Number 9, I put the Lakers for no real reason other than the fact that it is still LeBron, it is still AD, and if those guys are healthy, it's hard to believe that they're not going to be at least a play-in team. I don't love the rest of the roster at all, no matter what additions they try and make in terms of like buyout guys and stuff during the season. I don't believe in the health, and quite frankly, I'm really starting to lose belief in the Anthony Davis and LeBron combo, so I'm going to put them at the number 9 spot. Number 10, this was difficult because really there's like 3 teams here you could have put. I'm going to go with Sacramento. There's some Sacramento positivity and optimism and momentum right now. I think they had a pretty good offseason. Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox look like they're going to be good. Keegan Murray looks like he is going to be good as well. I'm going to put them at 10, but really you could have put either Sacramento, Portland, or Oklahoma City in this 10 spot. OKC, I slid down to 12 just because obviously Chet is hurt. I don't think they're going to try particularly hard to make the play-in game, whereas Portland, I think, is going to really, really try to be a play-in team. But this is just such an unbelievably talented conference, and unless you think the Minnesota thing is going to completely fall apart or the Lakers are going to be hurt the entire season, it's really difficult to envision multiple of Sacramento, Portland, and OKC in the play-in spot. And so that's why that 10 spot is so difficult to rank. Ultimately, what's going to happen and why it's so difficult to rank all these teams right now is there's going to be a team that suffers catastrophic injuries during the season, and that's going to make it much easier to rank these teams as we go throughout the year. But before the year, when everybody's healthy, you kind of have to have teams like Portland that are play-in caliber outside of that play-in spot right now in the standings. And then the bottom 3 teams in the conference, to me, and one of a few of the worst teams in the entire league, Houston, Utah, and San Antonio. You can rank them in any order you want to. I have Houston at 13, Utah at 14, and San Antonio at 15. Houston obviously is much more talented, but they're still so young. They're still trying to figure it out. I don't think they're going to be pushing for a play-in spot at all this year. And then Utah and San Antonio are the most egregious tankers already of the entire season, just dumping players left and right. They clearly are going for the first overall pick. I'm not going to bother going through all the awards because I don't think anybody really cares about any of the awards apart from MVP. And for MVP, I'm going to go with Joel Embiid because there's a couple of different qualifications. We talk about this every year in order to be an MVP. You need to be one of the better seeds in your conference. Check mark. I have them at the 2 seed in the East. And you need to have incredible statistics. You need to have a narrative there. And I think Embiid finally getting over the hill after, in some people's minds, getting passed over for the award last year. I think he's our best narrative choice for the MVP this year if they end up being really good and if they end up winning a ton of games, because Giannis has already won it. Jokic has already won it multiple times. I think Embiid is that next guy. If you want to put someone like Luka here, that's fine, but you probably have to have Dallas higher up in the standings than I do. At 5, I don't think a 5th seed is going to win the MVP, so I have Embiid there. And then we can look at the playoff stuff. I'm just going to skip right ahead to who I have in the conference finals, then the finals, and who I think is going to end up winning the title. In the Eastern Conference Finals, I have Bucks Sixers. Those are the 2 top seeds, I think, in the Eastern Conference this season, and 2 of the better rosters in the league. And it's just going to come down to how those guys perform in that postseason series between Giannis and Embiid. Again, I'm just going to go with the safety of I've seen it before with Giannis and this Bucks team, and they're still an incredible 2-way team. I'm going to go with them here, advancing from the conference finals into the finals. And in the Western Conference Finals, I have Warriors Clippers. I still believe in the Warriors based off what we saw from their run last year. And then the Clippers, like I said, I think if healthy, if you can just turn injuries off, have the most complete roster in the entire league, specifically on the wings. They can guard anybody. They have guys that can score and shoot. I think that they're going to be an incredibly dangerous, especially small ball team. Their ability to match up and play any way they want to is super critical, and I think they're going to be really good. And as a result, you can probably tell by how I'm talking about them, I have Bucks Clippers in the finals, and I really want to pick the Clippers. I really, really do. However, the last time I did that was in 2020, and they went into the bubble, and they just completely collapsed. And so I just can't do it. I want to, but I can't. So I'm going to pick the Bucks ultimately to win the title this year. I think they would have won the title last year if Chris Middleton didn't get hurt and they had advanced past Boston. I think that they are the safest bet to win the title this year, to have the best record in the league this year if fully healthy. I'm going to go with Milwaukee. Whew, you can tell that's a lot of stuff. There is a lot going on. This is an incredibly interesting season. And like I said, before injuries, it's really, really difficult to rank all these teams and figure out exactly what's going to happen. But I feel like you have to pick a couple of things that you really believe in. I think Philly's going to be good. I think the Clippers, if healthy, are going to be good. And everything else is really just a guess at this point. But that's where I'm at, previewing the entire NBA for this upcoming season.